And Anders said, "Listen, if he's going to be kind enough to want to play, then Andrew will play. Let's play." And he says, "Let's play. You'll play. But as long as it's nothing to do with him, Prince Andrew." Yeah. Is that deal? Yeah. There are secrets that stay buried because everyone agrees to protect them. And then there are secrets that stay buried because the wrong person hasn't spoken yet. Because the story you're about to hear isn't gentle. It isn't small. In fact, for years, Sarah Ferguson never corrected this one particular story. She never laughed it off, never publicly challenged it, never rushed to shut it down. And inside royal life, that kind of silence is never accidental. The story involved a private yacht, a royal prince, and a recently titled duchess. 3 days spent together away from the world, and a consequence that allegedly followed, one that could have changed everything. A pregnancy, an abrupt cut-off, and a future rewritten before it ever became public. Sarah Ferguson knew Prince Andrew's habits. She understood the environments he favored, and she recognized ambition when she saw it because she had lived alongside it for decades. So when Meghan Markle entered royal life years later, this was not a fresh story to Fergie. It was an old one, carefully sealed, deliberately forgotten, and never meant to resurface until now. Because when the woman who protected the silence stops doing so, the past doesn't stay buried. It demands to be heard. And this is where the real story begins. When Sarah Ferguson stops protecting someone, it matters. Fergie didn't need explanations about yacht culture. She had seen it up close long before Meghan Markle ever entered the picture. Now, this is where the story of Meghan and Andrew goes darker. Many years later, Meghan would tell a story about first meeting Prince Andrew, suggesting she didn't recognize him, that she mistook him for someone insignificant, a man holding the Queen's handbag. To the public, it sounded playful, harmless, almost charming. To Fergie, it sounded impossible. Andrew wasn't obscure. He wasn't invisible. He wasn't a man you simply failed to recognize, especially not for someone who had studied the royal family, dated within elite circles, and later married directly into it. More importantly, Andrew was not a stranger within the environments Meghan had already been moving through. Fergie understood something the public didn't. Distancing language is often used when familiarity needs to be erased, when prior proximity becomes inconvenient, when history must be rewritten to fit a cleaner narrative. The valet story didn't signal innocence. It signaled separation. And separation is usually required when something existed before the official timeline begins. According to information that surfaced quietly and was shared privately, the overlap between Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew was not theoretical. It was physical. The account places them together in February of 2002 aboard a private yacht off the coast of Nice. Andrew was allegedly a VIP guest. Meghan was allegedly present as part of the social group on board. This was not a crowded vessel. There were no endless decks or anonymous faces. Everyone knew who everyone else was and why they were there. An eyewitness identified only through anonymity and passed on through a third party described a rapid shift in attention once Andrew arrived. Within a short time, Meghan was allegedly positioned exclusively beside him. Shortly after, they were said to have withdrawn below deck. What followed, according to the account, was not a fleeting interaction, but several days of seclusion, meals delivered privately, and visible separation from the rest of the group. When they emerged, the dynamic had changed. Those on board noticed it. Talk followed, and the story stayed with the people who witnessed it, even as years passed and lives moved on. For Fergie, this wasn't shocking information. It was confirmation of something long understood, but never spoken aloud. Because some stories don't surface when they happen. They surface when the people who protected them stop doing so. What matters most in stories like this is not the encounter itself. It's what happens afterward. According to the account passed on, contact between Meghan and Prince Andrew did not end when the yacht returned to shore. There were follow-up communications, continued contact, an expectation, at least on one side, that something had been established. Andrew, however, returned to London and did what he has reportedly done many times before. He disengaged. Meghan's calls went unanswered. Messages were not returned. Eventually, staff were instructed to block contact entirely. Access closed, doors shut. Whatever had happened was now placed firmly in the past. Inside royal dynamics, this is not unusual. Distance is how problems are erased. But this is where the story deepens because the silence did not come quietly. According to the testimony, Meghan attempted repeatedly to reach Andrew after his return to England. Not casually, not once or twice, persistently. There was something she believed he needed to know. What that information was explains the urgency and the silence that followed. The claim is that Meghan believed she was pregnant. If true, this would have changed everything. Not just personally, but institutionally. A child connected to Prince Andrew outside marriage, outside control, would have been catastrophic. And yet, the calls were never returned. Andrew did not engage. He did not respond. He severed contact entirely. For someone accustomed to access, that rejection would have been absolute. According to the account, with no response and no path forward, a decision was made. The pregnancy did not continue. After that, communication ceased altogether. Whether true or not, this portion of the story explains something that has always lingered beneath the surface. Not just why contact ended, but why bitterness may have followed. If this story carried even a fraction of truth, it explains decades of silence. Prince Andrew would have every reason to ensure this never surfaced. Meghan would have every reason to move on and rewrite her future, and the royal family would have every reason to bury it completely. There were no photographs, no paperwork, no public witnesses willing to step forward. Only memory. The people who allegedly witnessed it were young, passing through backpackers, guests, not insiders with power or protection. And when time passed, life moved on until years later when Meghan re-entered the royal world through a different door. That is when this past would have become dangerous again because proximity returned and history resurfaced. When pressure builds inside powerful families, sacrifices are made carefully, not emotionally, strategically. Meghan Markle sits in a uniquely exposed position. She is tied to the royal story, but she is not protected by it. She does not have generations of institutional shielding behind her. She does not carry bloodline immunity. And most critically, she no longer serves a purpose to the people who once defended her presence inside royal power dynamics that makes her expendable. Prince William has nothing to hide. His position is secure. His story is clean. There is no leverage there. King Charles, on the other hand, is cautious. He understands exposure. He understands how quickly narratives can unravel. But even he knows which battles to fight and which pieces to let fall. Meghan becomes the pressure valve. The story that can be released without collapsing the system. The truth that can be sacrificed to protect bigger structures. And Sarah Ferguson understands this perfectly. If a truth must be told, Meghan's truth is the safest one to tell first. This is not a clash of opposites. It is a collision of mirrors. Sarah Ferguson and Meghan Markle share more than proximity to royalty. They share instincts. Both understand status. Both understand access. Both know how relationships become currency and how quickly loyalty disappears when usefulness ends. They are not sentimental operators. They are strategic ones. For years, Fergie played her role. She stayed close. She stayed quiet. She maintained appearances. And in return, she was allowed to remain. Meghan followed a similar path, aligning herself upward, cutting ties downward and rewriting narratives as circumstances changed. People were valuable until they weren't. Useful until they weren't. The difference is timing. Fergie learned the rules the hard way through loss, scandal, and survival. Meghan assumed the rules would always bend in her favor. And that assumption is where everything fractures. Because when two people built on the same instincts fall out, the fallout isn't emotional, it's destructive. And the moment Meghan chose distance over diplomacy, she didn't just ghost a former ally. She activated a witness. This is where Sarah Ferguson's role becomes unavoidable. Fergie did not need proof. She didn't need photographs or sworn statements. She lived close enough to Andrew to understand his patterns. She knew the environments he favored. And she knew when stories were being quietly managed instead of confronted. She also understood Meghan's ambition because she recognized it. That is why this secret remained untouched for so long. Because as long as everyone benefited from silence, silence held. But that balance has shifted. Fergie no longer gains protection from the institution, Meghan no longer holds favor within it. And Andrew has always relied on others to carry the weight of his past. What happens when the one person who knows how all of those pieces fit together stops protecting the silence? Secrets don't disappear, they wait. And when someone with memory motive and nothing left to lose decides to speak, even indirectly, the past doesn't whisper. It resurfaces. And once it does, the story is no longer about rumors, yachts, or denials. It becomes about who knew and who chose silence. And that is the kind of truth the royal family has always feared most.